Ready to turn some heads this Halloween? Today we're going to be making some glowing red eye skull earrings. Hi, I'm Christina and I love to digitally apparel pattern, creating unique pieces of wearable art. I also love to add some little light up flair to some of my clothing and accessories. And when I came up with the idea to have these little cute skull earrings with red eyes, I knew I had to make them. So I am super excited to get started. So let's gather our materials and get sewing. First, I'm going to gather my black and white felt. I'm going to secure my white felt down onto my cutting mat, taping the edges so that they don't get caught. Next, I'm going to move over to my Cricut, and I'm going to have my Cricut do all the heavy cutting because it will cut this skull out so much faster than I ever could. I'm going to take the skulls out. My Cricut, I needed to probably put a little bit heavier pressure on there because of how thick my felt is. So I'm just having to kind of do some minor clips within the eye sockets and around. Next, I'm going to do the same thing for my black felt. I'm going to tape it down onto my board and then let my Cricut do the heavy cutting. Now that my black is cut out, I'm just going to do like a test place before I glue everything together. Next, I'm going to use this fabric tacky glue. It is a very nice glue to have it so that it'll still be flexible but still really hold the two felts together. Then I'm just going to glue all the way around the edges of the white and place it on the black, giving some nice firm pressure to make sure they stick together well. Then I'm going to go ahead and let those dry for at least a couple hours, but I'm going to do 24 hours. Now that my skulls are glued together, it's time to actually gather all the materials that we're going to need to make these little guys light up. So I have my two skulls, I have my 4 LEDs, I have my conductive thread, my scissors, my needle nose pliers, my lily pad button battery boards, my button batteries, some chain and fish hooks for the actual earring hardware, a thimble, a awl, and some needles. So let's actually get started. I'm going to start by poking the 2 holes for the LEDs in the eye, and then I'm going to fish the LEDs through there. Make sure you know which one is positive and which one is negative. You don't want to get those mixed up because they will then cause you to have to re-sew everything. So if you forget, you can always do a double check to make sure you know which side is positive and which side is negative. Next, I'm just going to swirl the leads up so I have something nice to sew around using those needle nose pliers. And you can swirl them as close as you want. I went a little bit further away so that my button board, the leads would be closer to where I'm going to sew it onto that button board. Then I'm just going to repeat on the other side. Again, make sure you know which lead is going which direction so that you don't have to redo it later. Once they're flattened out, again, I'm going to swirl those leads in. So that I have a nice place to sew around. Perfect. Next, I'm going to get my conductive thread and I'm going to feed it onto my needle. I always use a needle with a slightly bigger eye for the conductive thread because it is a very loose weave or a very loose twist, and I find that it untwists really easily and is sometimes hard to thread. So I always use a little bit bigger eye of a needle for ease. Next, I'm just going to whip stitch around my leads. Now you want to make sure that you're not going all the way through so you could see it on the front of the skull. But where I am sewing right now should be behind the white. Next, after I got at least 3, preferably 5 links or 5 loops around the lead, I'm going to move to the port of the button battery and I'm going to do 5 loops around there, and then I'm going to tie off and clip your tails. Now you want to make sure that you clip your tails nice and short because it is conductive thread. So if you have a long tail that accidentally shorts your board, you will not be able to light your LEDs. So you want to make sure that all your tails are clipped. You don't have extra conductive thread moving everywhere. Then I'm just going to go ahead and repeat this same on every one of my LED legs. And you want to make sure that your positives are going to your positives and your negatives are going to your negatives. I decided to put my negative ports towards the top of the skull because then the button battery would always be being like cradled, I guess. There would be no possibility for the button battery to be falling out. Now, these boards are so tight. I've never had a button battery fall out, even if my board was faced towards the ground and I was shaking really hard. They're just very secure, but it's more of a personal thing. I like to make sure it's extra secure. And once you get to the last lead, you are trying to kind of sew underneath the battery board, so it can be a little difficult. So just kind of be aware of when you are twisting. That's why I didn't twist or swirl my leads all the way to the base. I left them have a little bit of breathing room. It'll just make it easier when you're actually sewing them to the board. And we have our final tie off. Ooh. There we go. It's time to test this guy. I'm going to put my button battery in. Oh, look at that. Okay, so I might have a little bit of a short happening on this one that I'm going to have to look at. Or maybe my button battery is also low on power. I'm going to try a new battery in here and see if that fixes it. Yeah, there we go. So I was just low on battery power. Then the final step is to actually put on the earring hooks. So I'm going to go ahead and get 3 links of chain off of this chain here. I'm going to use my awl and I'm going to poke a hole through the white and through the black. This way I know it's going to be extra secure. I want to make sure I can easily see that hole, so I do go from the front and then from the back. And I'm going to feed a link through there so I have a chain going. Then you need a chain to... You always have to look at the chains because if you just do 2, your earring might hang not the way you want it to hang. So always check and make sure that you have the correct chain links to make the earring hook in the right direction, as well as make sure you put the actual hook on the right direction. I have put the hook on the wrong direction a few times, and it is an easy change. You just have to reopen up that link and change the direction of it, but if you don't have to do that, that's even better. And there we have it. I now have my light up skull earrings ready to go. Oh my goodness, I absolutely love them. And here we have it. We have the cutest little skull earrings that have those glowing red eyes. Now, if you are going to go to any parties, make sure you bring your extra batteries so that you can always make sure they can light up and stare those people down. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe so that you can also make your own fun skull earrings. You can also find that pattern down below so that you can have the Cricut files to actually get the skull earrings printed out and those step-by-step instructions. If you decide to make some, I would love to see what you make. I always enjoy seeing what other people are making and how they're being creative. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in some of my other videos. Happy sewing!